What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. So a little while ago, we talked about a story with Sony actually banning PlayStation 5 consoles outright after they found that a loophole was being exploited and selling access to the PlayStation Plus collection for PS4 owners was only supposed to be for PS5 systems. Well, now it looks like in Brazil, a judge has actually ruled against Sony when it comes to this, telling them to even unban consoles. We'll go over that one here today. Also, Nintendo has now started to announce some of their New Year sales for first-party titles, and while it's just in Japan, you're going to want to pay attention because last year, these sales did make their way to other regions just a few days later, and we get to talk about the Atari VCS because, one, I actually think I'm getting mine. I got shipping information, all this, which is interesting to see after so many years now, and two, people are already trying to list them and resell them for higher amounts on eBay. Go figure. Guys, if you enjoy these videos, make sure you hit that like button, helps out a ton, and if you're new here to the Spawnwave channel, make sure you subscribe down below. And we're gonna start today with Super Nintendo World and that power-up band, the thing that Miyamoto was walking around with and touching different points at the theme park. Well, turns out it can actually do a little bit more than what we originally thought. We can go over to the website here that says wearing a power-up band on your wrist will expand your playing experience in the theme area Super Nintendo World of Universal Studios Japan. You can also use it as an amiibo by touching the Nintendo Switch, and they have 6 of them here. Mario, Luigi, Peach, and a few others like Yoshi, which is pretty cool. But the thing that I really like about this is that in a way, it connects their theme park to the Switch. It doesn't work for the 3DS or the Wii U, which shouldn't surprise anyone there. But the fact that you can use this band and technically scan it at the theme park to get something, but then also scan it on your Switch and do something there, makes me wonder if Nintendo has plans in the future, probably years down the line with their home console, handheld, hybrid, all this, and then their theme park, to maybe do things where you go to the theme park and you complete different challenges there. Maybe someday in the future with the next-gen feature like a theme for the Switch, maybe you get custom themes from the theme park itself. That would be awesome. So just a few things there that they could do. It'd be interesting to see where they go with it. Also, we had heard earlier in 2020 that there would be DLC of some kind for Cyberpunk after launch. However, CD Projekt decided not to talk much about it, even delaying some of the announcements around DLC till after launch. And now we kind of know why, because the game certainly launched hot, several delays happened, but this website is now live. They launched it the other day, it appears. Free DLC starts hitting Night City early 2021. Stay tuned for more info. And okay, so I'm not surprised to hear that DLC will probably be free for this game for a while. Like, I don't know if they're going to charge for DLC for a couple of years now. They've been just patching the game, trying to get it stable. And I will say this, after the latest update, which I gotta tell you, every couple of days I turn this game on and it's getting a 10, 15, 20 gigabyte patch. But the PS5 version I'm playing has not crashed in the last 6 or 7 hours of game time that I've been playing. And while that's a low bar, being like, wow, the game didn't crash the dashboard, that's kind of where we were with Cyberpunk. So free DLC, as we've heard CD Projekt say themselves, we have to rebuild our reputation, is probably one of their avenues to do so after they just fix the game. Probably years of free content afterwards is their best bet to try to build up their rapport again with gamers. So we'll see what they have for us. I assume they're going to talk about this more, I would say in January or February after they start getting those bigger patches out. And then they'll roll towards, I'm sure, a big next-gen launch next holiday where they just include all the DLC and they give us the Cyberpunk 2077 Complete Edition. Oh, and probably the best thing that's happened to EA in the past, I'm gonna say 2 years now, has to be Respawn. They've done quite a bit with EA already, with Apex Legends being a pretty big success, and even coming up with Jedi Fallen Order that continues to shock people, that EA allowed this to happen single player, without forced multiplayer, no microtransactions, battle passes, none of that stuff. They just allowed them to make a single-player Star Wars game, and it was great. I really liked the game. Apex Legends is free to play, so people are more forgiving with the amount of microtransactions there, but now it looks like they're going to be doing a sequel to Fallen Order. We've heard about a Titanfall project, maybe Titanfall 3, and it looks like they're doing a new IP. We can check this job listing out here. It says, we are looking for a full-time generalist software engineer to join a small new team being formed to develop a brand new IP. This being listed on Respawn's website. So I like that EA continues to build and give resources to Respawn because they're up there for talented developers within EA, within just the gaming landscape right now. So I like that EA isn't just giving them like boring jobs to do or just running support for different things. They're saying, hey, let's go make a new IP. Let's see what you can do. Hopefully EA continues to stay hands off with a lot of these kind of projects, like what they've done with Jedi Fallen Order, because I like to see what Respawn can come up with without EA showing up and saying, let's get microtransactions in this. How can we do that? And guys, some of the quick news out of the way, let's get into the bigger stuff. Let's start right away with Sony banning PlayStation 5 consoles outright by what I assume would be the system's unique identifier, like a MAC address or something, so it cannot access the online service anymore, which, I mean, let's be real now, these systems basically need the internet. The PS5 at least works out of the box, but you're gonna wanna start updating that thing right away. Most of the games now expect you to be connected to the internet for what are, we just talked about Cyberpunk, like 10, 15, 20 gigabyte patches every couple of days or something. But Sony did start banning PlayStation 5 consoles outright after they found that loophole was being exploited for the PlayStation Plus collection. However, in Brazil, a judge is saying, no, you can't do that. You gotta start fixing these and unbanning these consoles. In his decision, Judge Anderson Antonucci noted that there was danger of irreparable damage or difficult repair when it comes to removing Sony's lock on the consoles. Metropolis claimed that this decision is unprecedented in Brazil. It is as if you were accused of violating the terms of use of a streaming service such as Netflix, for example, and were punished by permanently turning off your television without being able to turn it on to watch open TV. This is from a legal expert telling Metropolis. And I look at that and say, okay, yeah, Netflix is an online streaming service, sure, but Sony's software and hardware are basically tied together. So I'm sure when you go through your PlayStation 5 setup and you just kind of next right past that like 38-page terms of service, that probably somewhere in there, there's something that's covering Sony for their hardware or their software. You violate one or the other, we have the option of banning your account or this console. Now, I will say, from my point of view, I think it's a shame when the console itself gets banned because, like, let's be real, it almost makes the system completely useless. If you're not able to get updates, let's say, for the system or different games, or you can't access the internet for games, there are a lot of games that will even have DRM built in and like require the internet connection half the time. So yes, you have basically chopped down most of that system's ability to play games. Like I said before though, the PS5 at least is a bit better than the Xbox Series systems when it comes to not needing the internet as much. But like, as they say, once you take that away, it's kind of like turning off your TV, but not quite, because Netflix they don't make TVs. Sony makes the hardware. So I'm more on the side of, look, if somebody's violating terms of service and all of this stuff, kind of leave the console alone and maybe just do temporary bans or full bans if it's really bad on their account. Now that does also get into another gray area because there could be thousands of dollars worth of purchases linked to that, but again, I'm sure it's somewhere in that little contract that we next write past or something that says they can do that. It's just a shame to see a PS5 become borderline useless when they're already very difficult to find in the first place. And who knows, maybe that person just says, well, I'll just go sell it and not tell someone about it, and then someone else gets stuck with a banned console. I have seen this before, especially with the Xbox 360. Microsoft were banning those things left and right for cheating or hacking at times. Anyway, past a certain day, Sony will be fined 5% of the console's overall value up to the system's total value. So basically, Sony has to either unban these systems or just reimburse the customer their money, basically, so they can go buy another PlayStation 5 console. So it's probably just easier to unban these different systems that were banned in the first place. And I'm curious if this will in some way set a precedent or find its way outside of Brazil to other regions. But for now, yeah, it looks like we'll wait for Sony's response and see what happens here. Next up, let's talk about Nintendo's New Year's sale. They posted this up on their website for Japan, and this happened last year where they posted it on their Japan website, and then just a few days later, the New Year's sale started to go live other places, and it was very, very close to being the same. I think like one game may have been different, but we can go over here and take a look at a list of games that they have, and there are a lot of them. They're like 30% off. Some of them are 20% off, but these are first-party titles, which if you're new to Nintendo, this is a big deal when first-party games that are even years old go on any type of sale. Now, this is going to run through January 12th, and we can see like Breath of the Wild 30% off. And they also have Breath of the Wild with the expansion pass set 22% off, Super Mario Party 30% off, Pokemon Mystery Dungeon 30% off, Luigi's Mansion 30% off, Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening 30% off, and 1-2 Switch, wow, digging deep there at 30% off that one. And I know what you're thinking, wow, some of these games are pretty old, and they're just dropping them like 30% from what's basically a full-priced game. Yeah, that's kind of what Nintendo does. And really, if you look at things like Amazon's top 10 best-selling games for 2020, a lot of it's Nintendo's first-party titles that are years old. So like, I guess to a degree, you look at it and you say, well, if I'm Nintendo, I'm not going to drop prices if they continue to sell. Usually you drop prices for either special events like New Year's as an example, or holiday or something, or if you're trying to increase traffic to a certain title, or you're trying to up awareness. Those are things that Nintendo doesn't really need to do. So yes, they keep things like Breath of the Wild at $60 for several years after it comes out, and then maybe eventually we'll get the Nintendo Selects. That could pop up on the Switch in like its 6th year or something, and we'll get some $20 or $30 first-party Switch titles, but for now, the New Year's sale is probably the best you're gonna get. Keep an eye out because, like I said, in a couple of days, you'll probably see some New Year's sales show up in other regions, and I'll keep you guys up to date on that. Next up, let's talk about some initial sales data for the PlayStation 5 through its first 4 weeks. Let's go over here to Gamatsu. They say PlayStation 5 shipped 3.4 million units in its first 4 weeks of sales, the highest ever for a PlayStation console, according to a Digitimes report citing, I like the quotes, industry sources. Production is expected to reach 16.8 to 18 million units in 2021, with help of additional capacity support from Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company and back-end service firms, the publication said. Now, technically, this is the biggest launch a PlayStation console has seen in its first 4 weeks, shipping 3.4 million units. What's interesting about this, though, is only about 240,000 of those systems were allotted to Japan, which is, you could tell that Sony is making that shift, like I've said before several times, to more of the Western market away from Japan. But there is word that Sony is going to be ramping up production specifically for Asian markets as well. So we'll see how that goes. We have a good idea because we do have Famitsu sales charts that tell us week to week, and we can see if the trends do kind of start to climb there in terms of sales for this. But yeah, Sony is pushing hard for the PlayStation 5. I think they want the transition to happen as fast as possible from the PlayStation 4 to the PlayStation 5. 16.8 to about 18 million systems being produced after hearing that there were yield issues with AMD's chips, according to places like Bloomberg. Yes, that's pretty good, I would say. And I mean, we assume they're going to sell out. It looks like they are building up a pretty big 2021 with Final Fantasy 16, Ratchet & Clank, Gran Turismo, God of War maybe, and then several other third-party games, and even a few, we'll say first-party kind of games that haven't been announced yet that will be, we think, pretty soon. Yeah, 2021, 18 million units probably won't be enough, and I'll be curious if they manage to get even above that, maybe closer to 20 million units. Oh, and the reason that industry sources was like in quotations there with Digitimes, they've been kind of 50-50 on their reporting. However, a lot of other analysts were looking at this saying, yeah, that's more on the correct side for the number of PlayStation 5s that we've kind of gathered here that have shipped. So yes, it does appear that Sony, the PlayStation 5, biggest launch for a PlayStation consoles in its first 4 weeks, and I'm telling you, I think they're going to try to push higher than that 18 million with kind of the software lineup that they're building throughout 2021. In our last bit of news, let's talk about the Atari VCS, because I can't believe it, but mine's actually going to show up. I got a shipping notification for this. It's the Atari 800 Onyx edition and that modern controller that I believe they partnered, I think it was Power A. It's been a while, hasn't it? It's been like years now. So yeah, that's why I was so shocked that I actually got notification for shipment, because that means it's real. It's actually gonna happen. So we'll have some fun checking that out over a weekend, but naturally other people are getting them, and some are even starting to post them up on eBay, attempting to flip them. I don't know what they think this is. It's not like a PlayStation 5 or something, but check this eBay listing out right here. The new Atari 800 Onyx VCS Backers Edition. $700. All right, so it's the Atari VCS Onyx Edition. It's that modern controller, and then that original joystick looking controller. I didn't get that, and I kind of wish I had, just to see what they did with that build. But anyway, the Atari VCS itself and the modern controller will be showing up here. However, $700 for that bundle? That's a bit up there, considering we're starting to see PS5 consoles actually trend downwards in terms of their price now after Christmas, getting close to that. So like you can be sitting there thinking, okay, do I get an Atari VCS 800 or do I get the PlayStation 5? That's tough. That's a tough decision right there. I mean, really, let me at least take a look at the thing before we start paying out $700. Also, apparently this is supposed to be in stores someday in the future at like Walmart and GameStop, you might be able to hold out for this one and get it at a pretty cheap price, especially if it doesn't do well and it ends up on like the clearance rack. I don't know. We'll see what happens with this thing. But yeah, stay tuned because I will certainly be doing an entire tech wave on this. We'll open it up, check it out, and see exactly what Atari delivers. And we'll finish up with a comment of the day as you're seeing here. This is from Eileen Jimenez saying, honestly, I'd want a Fatal Frame collection from 1 to 5 with Labo support for a minigame similar to Spirit Camera. I know it's asking a lot, but I really believe the Switch needs more horror games, and the Fatal Frame series is perfect to fill that gap. You know, there are a couple of instances where that Labo headset piece would come into play. Like Pokemon Snap is obvious, right? Like, I mean, think about that. You just go around taking pictures with the Switch kind of in this Labo looking thing, right? That'd be cool. Or sure, Fatal Frame. The issue here is I think Nintendo needs to release just something separate from Labo that's like a head mounted display. It's just a piece of plastic you slide the Switch into, because otherwise you have to buy the Labo kit. You got to build the headset, and there are people who just don't feel like doing that. They'd rather just go into the store and buy this piece of plastic you strap to your head for 20 bucks. Also, the Labo piece doesn't strap to your head. You got to figure all that out too. So who knows? Maybe that's something Nintendo explores in the future when they get into the next Switch system and the screens may be clearer and they work for like refresh rate and all this stuff. But yeah, as it stands now, you're correct. Something like a Fatal Frame collection at least would be really cool. And ladies and gentlemen, that's gonna do it here for Newswave. If you enjoyed this video, guys, hit that like button, really helps out. If not, hit the dislike. Leave comments down below about everything we talked about here today. Well, there's Sony banning PlayStation 5 consoles outright. Are you kind of frustrated that they're banning PlayStation 5 consoles, making them nearly useless? Would you prefer for them to just ban the PlayStation ID that's attached to doing these exploits? Also, what do you think about Nintendo putting some of their first-party games on sale for New Year's? And then the Atari VCS. Did you order one way back when, and did you get a shipping notification? And were you as caught off guard as I was? Thanks, guys, for watching, and I'll see you next time.